Hello crocheters, happy weekend. Today I do not have a finished project tutorial to share with you the way I usually have it on Saturdays, but I do have something quite important to share with you. And this is something that I mention in my tutorials quite often, but many of my viewers ask to explain this concept or this idea in greater detail. So today I'm making this video. What I'm talking about is making double crochets in such a way so that they are perfectly aligned one on top of the other. Here I have two samples. Let's take a look at this one first. This is the traditional way of making double crochets, and you can see that the stitches are not aligned. Let's take a look. For example, this stitch right here. The stitch in the next row that corresponds to this one is this one. But you can see that this stitch is not right on top of this one. It is shifted to the left. Then in the next row, this is the stitch that's supposed to correspond to this and this stitches. And again, you can see that it is slightly shifted to the right. Then this stitch is shifted to the left again, and this stitch is shifted to the right. And this happens when you make your double crochets, inserting the hook under two loops on the top only. Let's take a look at this sample. Here you can see that the stitches are aligned, straightly aligned, one on top of the other. And the way to make this kind of double crochet is when you insert the hook under three loops, not only two loops on the top, but you actually insert the hook directly into the stitch like this. Okay, so I'm going to actually demonstrate it. So the original way of making double crochets, you do yarn over and you insert the hook under two loops only, and then you make a double crochet. And another thing is that by making it this way, in the beginning of the row you actually get a gap right here. It's a pretty big gap because these three chains are supposed to correspond to the first double crochet, and then you make the next double crochet, but you make it under the two loops only. So this stitch is already slightly shifted, and that creates the gap. So again, this is how traditional double crochets are made. Yarn over, insert the hook under two loops only, and you make a double crochet. What I did in this sample is, well, first of all, to get a better edge, I'm actually doing beginning double crochets over here. So instead of making three chains, I'm making a beginning double crochet. And I do have a video, very detailed video on how to make a beginning double crochet. So what I do next is I'm going to make a double crochet into the next or second double crochet over here. I do yarn over and then I insert the hook over here directly into the stitch, not under the two loops on the top, but under this loop as well. And then I finish my double crochet as usual. And you can see how this stitch is perfectly aligned on top of this stitch. So let me make the next one the traditional way. So over here, I insert the hook under the two loops only, and you can see how this stitch is not aligned on top of this one. So I'm going to undo it and do yarn over and insert the hook directly into the stitch right here under three loops, and then I finish my double crochet. Most crocheters were taught to crochet this way, and most crocheters on YouTube teach you to crochet this way. So it's definitely important to be aware of the two differences. When you make an actual project, it does make a huge difference how you insert the hook when making double crochets. For example, over here is a sweater that I made a couple of years ago using double crochets, and you can see how beautifully, how perfectly aligned the stitches are. They look absolutely perfect. And another thing about making double crochets the traditional way, inserting the hook under two loops only, is that because of that shift in the stitches, this can be quite tricky for beginner crocheters. They may not be aware which stitch corresponds to which, and they might lose stitches or make extra stitches. So this is, I think, a very common problem when beginners work on a project with double crochets and the project ends up widening or the opposite, narrowing, and that's exactly why it happens. When you make double crochets this way, the stitches are all aligned and it is very easy to see which stitch corresponds to which stitch in the previous row. I would greatly encourage you trying to make double crochets this way and see if you like it, which I'm sure you will. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give my video a like, leave me a comment, and until next Saturday.